Apps and websites get hacked all of the time. These simple steps will minimize the damage if your login details have been stolen by hackers. In part 3 of this mini-series, we will set ourselves up for success by making sure we're as safe as we can be with our personal information stored on websites and apps. Data breaches happen much more frequently than you may realise, so it's vitally important to minimise the impact of this event when it happens. Our online lives are quite involved these days. We bank, shop, socialise and work through the internet, and this leaves a trail of personal information that is attractive to hackers. Every now and then a website that you've used will be compromised and your login details may get stolen. That activity is largely out of our hands unless we want to live a life of digital solitude, but what happens next is something we can control. Once a hacker has your login information, that is your username and password from a website, they'll bundle that up with thousands of other accounts and resell that information to other hackers. Once out there, hackers will use a technique called password spraying to see what other popular websites these credentials will unlock. If you've used the same username and password combination on other websites or apps, you could then be giving that hacker access to additional information. This is one of the most common ways that hackers have accessed accounts on popular sites such as Facebook in the past. If you followed the steps in the previous video, you'll be in a good place to resist this type of attack. The golden rule for accessing websites and apps is never use the same username and password combination twice. This may seem obvious, especially after discussing password spraying, but people are creatures of habit and the majority of internet users have a few favourite passwords that they cling to as their go-to credentials because their passwords are so easy to remember. This behaviour is setting us up to fail, but it's so easy to fix. Most modern browsers now have password managers built in. We can log into the browser with our master account credentials, and the password manager will synchronize the login credentials we store in that password manager into our master account. If we then log into the browser on each of our devices with the same master account, our passwords are also synchronized across all of our devices too, making our life so much easier. Password managers store our credentials securely, so they're safe to use, especially if we've secured our master account correctly. If you skipped part 2 of this series, please go back now and learn how to secure your master account first. Password managers can also give you indications of accounts that may have been subject to website breaches and will prompt you to take action to secure that account again. To use your new password manager, navigate to a website using the logged in browser. When it comes to logging in, the password manager will automatically ask you if you want to store the login credentials. Accept this action and now the credentials are safely stored in the password manager. Every time you revisit this website, your password manager will auto-fill your credentials from the password store and allow you to have a much easier login experience. Now that we have an easy way to store and retrieve our passwords, we can use the Suggest a Password feature to make sure the password we use is complex and different for each site we create an account on. When you now go to a register screen on a website and click into the password text box, your browser will give you the option to suggest a password for you. This will be a randomly generated set of characters that hasn't been used by your device before. Accept the password that it suggests and continue registration. The password manager will now store this randomly created password in the store and will serve it up every time you come back to that website. If the worst happens and the account you've created on a website is compromised, you'll get notified that your credentials for this site are no longer safe, but also you'll be protected from password spraying attacks on other website accounts because their credentials will be different. We now have a setup that means we only have to remember one password in the future, this being the password for your master account. Each website or app account we create is securely stored, and we have new detection tools to tell us if we need to take action to protect our information. In the final part of this series, I'll summarise all of the actions we've spoken about so far, so you'll have all the essential steps to take to secure your internet life in a compressed form. Part 4 of this series is coming up next.